say it. Don't you say it.
You left.
Come on! Dude, you just ran like 13 miles in 30 minutes.
Guess I got a late start.
Really? You should be ashamed of yourself. You should take another lap. Did you just take it? I assume you just took it.
Bucky?
Who the hell is Bucky?
Hey, I'm Derek,
And I'm Noah, and you're listening to A Bite Of.
where we take our current favorite pop culture obsession and enjoy it one nibble at a time.
Yay!
Whee!
New property.
Da 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 da.
So, Falcon and Winter Soldier coming right after WandaVision, so we thought, why not? Why not stay on the Disney Plus train?
What's better than one Marvel property? Two Marvel properties.
And we're getting tons of them. I mean, 2020 had a pretty big drought for Marvel content. For most content, actually. So it's a lot to choose from this year. So as always, before we get started, we got that Patreon. We got that merch. We got that Discord. We have a giveaway going on right now. So leave a review on iTunes. Leave your Instagram/Twitter handle on it somewhere. We're giving away a To Grow Old and WandaVision themed tote bag.
It is the most adorable / saddest tote bag you'll ever see.
You're welcome.
And so in this episode, we want to cover some of the things that we think y'all should know before watching The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So Noah and I went deep down into the cave of research, and we both came out with so many goods that we want to share with you. So of course, spoiler warning. So we're going to be talking about things that happened in the comics and the movies. So spoiler warning, spoiler warning, spoiler warning. We might be talking about things that influence or happen in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
All right, so let us officially take a bite of things we think you should know before watching The Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah. So how we're going to do it is we're going to go comic history stuff, then talk about the movie. And then if that character is in the movie that we're talking about next, comic stuff, then movie. You'll see. Didn't think I needed to explain this. I don't know why I'm explaining it.
I think it was nice. Give them a little instruction. Be like, what is happening? So I'm going to be handling most of the comic stuff. Noah's going to be handling most of the movie stuff. But of course, you know me. It doesn't just stop at the comics. I love a Marvel trading card. So our first character that we're going to be jumping into is the one and only Bucky Barnes. So the reason I'm saying that I'm jumping into a trading card is that Bucky sort of has two different iterations, right? So there's like OG Bucky from the 40s. But then there's the newer Bucky that came out in 2005 that turns into the Winter Soldier. So his first appearance was in Captain America #1, 1941. He's been there since the beginning. His abilities are hand-to-hand combat. He's a marksman. He's an Olympic-level athlete. Okay? Acrobat and gymnast.
Isn't he from Brooklyn?
Olympic level.
Did he go to the Olympics?
No, but he's like almost like that. Like he could have if he wanted to, but instead he went to World War II. So here's the little bio from the back of the card, and this is from 1991. It says, during the dark days of World War II, Bucky Barnes served as the two-fisted sidekick to the Star-Spangled Sentinel of Liberty called Captain America.
As opposed to four-fisted?
Sometimes the feet are involved. He is an Olympic-level gymnast, as we know. Although he possessed no superhuman powers, Bucky's acrobatic skill, fighting expertise, and unshakable courage put more than one company of Nazi stormtroopers to rout. Sadly, Bucky met his demise in the closing days of the war when he attempted to disarm an experimental rocket aimed at the United States.
Oh,
yeah. So this Bucky, he dies. I think he comes back for like a blip of a moment, but he never really makes an appearance again. That's it.
For now.
Yeah, exactly. So back in the 40s, he ends his time trying to save the United States from a rocket. Cut to 2005, we get Bucky Barnes, who turns into the Winter Soldier. So he made his appearance in Captain America #1, but from 2005, and his abilities that he's a trained assassin and spy with a robotic arm that gives him superhuman strength. So on the back of the card, the original Bucky, he's disarming a rocket. In the Marvel Encyclopedia, it says that the original Bucky was trying to stop a drone plane with bombs. So that's where this Bucky's story starts.
Mm-hmm.
So he joined Captain America in World War II, just like the original Bucky, but he tries to stop this drone plane that's filled with bombs. When the bombs explodes, it's thought that Bucky is killed, but he's actually found by a Soviet submarine. Dun, dun, dun. So Bucky wakes up in Moscow with amnesia and a bionic arm. There, he is brainwashed by General Vasily Karpov and becomes the Winter Soldier. For decades, Bucky's mind would try to fight against the brainwashing, so they would put him in suspended animation and then re-brainwash him every time he would wake up. Once Karpov dies, General Alexander Lukin takes up controlling the Winter Soldier. And on a mission to power up a cosmic cube, Captain America actually uses the cube to erase Bucky's brainwashed mind. With his memories restored, he sets out to take revenge on those who kept him captive for so long. Later on, when Captain America dies, Bucky becomes the new Captain America. Side note, he can detach his bionic arm for more fighting action.
It's so weird.
How about that?
So
and I
weird.
just wanted to make a note on what like a wish cube is. According to Marvel.com, there are few items in the universe that could ever compare to the sheer power of a cosmic cube. The power within the cube allows whoever wields it to literally reshape reality around them. Virtually anything is possible, from the raising of mountains and the commanding of the power of the elements to opening a dimensional portal and transforming your enemies.
So it's like a mini Infinity Gauntlet. That's what that sounds like.
Basically, yeah. And so there's a couple of these cubes throughout Marvel history, but this one was like a big deal for like the Red Skull and Captain America.
Pretty much same story.
Yeah.
In the movies.
Exactly. Yeah. It just gets a little more back and forth, but it's all about that brainwashing and him being Cap's best friend.
All right. So MCU time. Obviously, our two main characters in Falcon and the Winter Soldier come directly from Captain America. They are his best buds. They are his wingman. So Captain America, the first Avenger. So not only are we introduced to our Star-Spangled Captain America, but we also get our first introduction of James Bucky Barnes. So while Steve is still a shrimp and failed many times to enlist in the armed forces, Bucky is his best friend and protector, saving Steve when he fights bullies bigger than himself. So we got that really cool scene when he's first introduced in that movie where Steve is trying to tell a rude person in the movies to shut up and give respect to the commercial that's on the screen of all the armed forces people. He goes outside to have a fight with him, which I guess good for him, but I wouldn't like get up or go out of the movies and like fight somebody.
How much did I just pay to see this movie?
Right. You just, come on, you just eat your popcorn and be quiet. And Bucky comes in and saves him. So he's always been there. He's always been his protector. So fast forward a little bit. After Steve gets his Captain America glow up, he finds out Bucky has been declared dead because he didn't return to base after a mission. But the truth is, he was actually captured. Steve, with the help of Peggy Carter and Howard Stark, rescues Bucky and leagues of other prisoners from a Hydra base. Steve, Bucky, and a few more of the rescued then form a team called the Howling Commandos and stop Hydra in their tracks. Tragedy strikes, however, when Bucky is seemingly killed after falling off a fast-moving train in the Swiss Alps. Damn that Zola. So that was another big emotional scene for Captain America in that movie. As we know, he tried to save him when Bucky picked up his shield, and he's not as strong to hold that shield and withstand a blast, and he almost got blown out, but then he's hanging on.
Mm-hmm.
Steve couldn't
And that
save him.
damn Hydra train construction falls right apart. That little bar he's holding on to breaks.
One of the things that I think is important during this, and so this is how I kind of split up. It's like kind of what happened and what's important for our characters in this. So during Cap's movie, we get a good look at who Steve is and how important Bucky is to him. Bucky is strong, fiercely loyal, and always making sure his dates have friends for Steve. When the Howling Commandos were founded, Bucky followed Steve into battle, not because he is Captain America, but because he's the same kid Bucky knew back in Brooklyn. So they grew up in Brooklyn together, so they're really good friends. Their bond built over years of caring for one another is one of the highlights of the entire MCU. I mean, who doesn't love a good best friends story?
Yeah, totally. And it's like the emotional drive behind a lot of Cap's decision-making in the movies. You know, it's always about saving his best friend. So let's get into our next batch of characters. I want to bring up the wonderful Sharon Carter. Her first appearance was in Tales of Suspense number 75 in 1976. And Tales of Suspense mixed science fiction with superheroes and showcased out-of-this-world pulp-style adventures in its early days before becoming the home of Iron Man and Captain America.
Yeah.
So Sharon's abilities is that she's an expert in a number of areas, including martial arts, weapons, disguise, infiltration, and more.
Okay, I hate it when they call them abilities for regular, normal people, because it's like they're just an agent.
But
Is that an ability?
But she's a master of disguise, Noah.
Okay.
She has a costume trunk that she goes in. Wigs, 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 wigs. So inspired by her Aunt Peggy, Sharon quickly became a part of S.H.I.E.L.D., where she was known as Agent 13. From there, she rose in the ranks where she became Captain America's S.H.I.E.L.D. liaison. Throughout her time with Cap, they had a very tumultuous relationship. They fell in love, and then she faked her death to go undercover. But then she came back, and they fell in love again. But then she was hypnotized, and she assassinated Cap.
Oh my God.
And she discovered she was pregnant with Cap's baby. But then sadly, she lost the baby during a battle. But then it turns out that Cap wasn't actually dead. So she asked him to marry her, but before there was a definitive yes or no, she was killed.
Wait, how did she discover she was pregnant with Cap's baby?
Well, I think she assassinated him and then took a pregnancy test. I was like, oh, no.
Oh, it just made it sound like she had no recollection of nighttime activities with him and was like, oh, I think I'm pregnant with Cap's baby.
Oh, so wait a minute. Yeah, as soon as she shoots him, the hypnotizing thing wears off and she's like, I'm pregnant.
Yeah, I hate that story. I don't like that history. I feel like a lot of times, especially women in comics are written that way, where it's a lot of like they're just used as weird pawns and like death and babies and all this confusing stuff all the time. Like that, there's that expression, the girlfriend in the refrigerator, because like it just happens all the time. It's so weird.
Yeah, and I think it's annoying when you see a strong female character and they're so good on their own, but then the whole point of them is to drive a male storyline forward.
Right.
You know, and Sharon's badass, but she's like always getting hypnotized, not knowing what's going on.
Gross. It's not how people sound when they're hypnotized.
Oh my God, what's happening? Oh my God, my life. Oh my God, I have to kill you. Now I'm alive again. What's happening? Up next, we have Falcon, or Sam Snap Wilson.
Ooh.
His first appearance was in Captain America number 117, which came out in 1969. His abilities is that he is a skilled fighter and has the agility of an acrobat, my friends.
Oh, not Olympic level?
No.
Okay.
He's not where Bucky was.
Okay.
But he has fighting skills, which I think Bucky lacked in. See how they're complementing each other. It's a beautiful thing. He also has a telepathic link with his Falcon Redwing and at some point all other birds. And he has his amazing power glider wings, which are badass. So after his plane crashed in the Caribbean on the way to Rio, Sam came in contact with Red Skull, who used his cosmic cube, remember that from earlier, to give Sam powers. He wanted Sam to help him pull off one of his evil plans, but Sam ended up pairing up with Captain America and defeated Red Skull. He would later be given his jet-powered wings by Black Panther, thank you Wakanda. With his new wings and powers, Falcon teamed up with Captain America and became an Avenger. Over the years, he would join Captain America and the Avengers on missions, and not once, but twice took up the mantle as Captain America. So I did a little deeper digging on our man Sam here and read some comics starring him. How dare you go off script, you maniac. So the first one I read came out in 2016. It was Sam Wilson, Captain America, and this was by Nick Spencer. So in this one, we see Sam taking up the mantle of Captain America after Steve's retirement. So Steve's not dead in this. He's just retired. He doesn't want to be Captain America anymore. He's an old dude. But
done.
He comes to find out that carrying the shield for the world comes with more than he bargained for. Sam is seen as a traitor when he points out the injustices in the U.S. government and now has no respect from anyone in the country, or even sword.
Wow, talking about sensitive. Jeez.
So rude. When he goes out on his own with the help of Misty Knight and Dennis Dunphy, who is known as D-Man. D-Man!
Isn't that the guy that looks just like Daredevil and Wolverine?
Exactly.
It's so weird.
Good old D-Man. You know, he's got like little tiny things on his head.
You guys need to look up D-Man because he is literally Daredevil and Wolverine mixed together.
Yeah.
It's so
but
weird.
Out of costume, I actually think that you could play him. He's just you with red hair. He's a ginger.
Oh, well, I don't want to dye my hair red. No, thank you.
There are some opportunities coming up if cosplaying is a thing ever again out in the world. So this is all about this group of snake-themed villains.
Ew.
And they're kidnapping immigrants that are crossing the border and bring them to New York and experimenting on them. And this comic actually ends up creating a new Falcon, which is really interesting. But I think the whole point of this one, as far as what we're talking about with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, is that we see Sam taking up the mantle of Captain America, but not necessarily being respected or being able to take what comes along with being Captain America. Captain America is America's Avenger. He's a hero, right? And Captain America just loves America as a whole. But this takes place in 2016, and Sam steps up, and he's not bipartisan. He's partisan. He says, no, this is wrong. The country is horrible. All this crap is happening. I'm not down with it.
Oh, you mean he's being truthful and actually being real in a comic?
He's basically like, a lot of America's racist. People want to build this wall. It's horrible. How dare you? And people are like, well, F you. And really, it's all about his relationship of taking up being Captain America, but not being respected by the country. So I think we're going to see something with that in The Falcon and Winter Soldier, of him being like, I don't know if I'm really made to be Captain America or if I fit this mold of what Captain America is supposed to be.
Yeah, what does it mean?
Exactly.
Right.
Why is there only one sort of vision of Captain America?
Right.
And then the second comic that I read was called Falcon and Winter Soldier. This is by Derek Landy, and it came out in 2020. It just came out last year. And so this one really is just about Sam and Bucky working together, and you kind of see like how they are different in the ways that they handle things. Really, Bucky's kind of like, just kill him. And Sam's like, no. Like, maybe shoot them to wound them, but we need to take them in. But Bucky's just like, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to kill everyone.
Well, I mean, yeah.
You know, even after his Winter Soldier ness has ended, you know, of being brainwashed, he's still very much like, they're attacking us. We need to kill them. Whereas Sam is like, no. We need to question these people and find out what's going on.
Yeah, that comic I feel like was very much made because this show was coming out and they needed something current to be like, look, these two characters can be in a comic together and this is how they are.
Yeah.
Because the comic was a standalone, so it wasn't like it didn't matter in the greater Marvel scheme of things. But, you know, it was kind of cool to see the artwork was really good, too.
I really like the artwork, yeah. I mean, one of the biggest points, I think, from this comic is that Bucky has a cat that he loves.
Yeah.
So
he might get it in this one. I hope he gets it.
That would be awesome.
All right, so Captain America, the Winter Soldier. We're going in chronological order here. So after Steve took a 70-year-long nap on ice, formed the Avengers, and stopped an alien invasion, he's taken on working with S.H.I.E.L.D. So a new baddie comes into town, the Winter Soldier, an intense metal-armed, gorgeous-haired, and smoky-eyed. I mean, he poses a big threat. This guy can fight. And I love the fight scenes in this movie, I'm just going to say.
I thought you were just going to say he poses like a badass.
No, with a smoky eye
exactly.
and nice hair. So to stop this new threat, Steve gets help from Black Widow and his new running partner, Sam Wilson, a former Air Force pararescue man. As the trio put two and two together, they find out that Hydra has been growing within S.H.I.E.L.D., but that's not all. Bucky Barnes is the Winter Soldier. Dun, dun, dun.
Bucky, no!
I mean, we all knew, but it's fine. So, turns out Bucky survived the fall off the train due to various experiments performed on him during his imprisonment. After Hydra rescued him, Chief Scientist Armin Zola brainwashed Bucky, gave him a killer new metal arm, and was used to accomplish Hydra's various plots and assassinations across decades. Like, he shaped the century that they're in, which is insane and really scary to think about.
And where were you, Cap? Sleeping?
I mean, he had no... Come on.
So tired.
So Steve, Sam, or should I say Falcon at this point, and Natasha Romanoff enact their plan against the Winter Soldier and Hydra. Cap and Bucky have an amazing fight on a very high catwalk. Why are all intense fights always on catwalks?
Why are we designing these places like this with these dangerous drop-offs around this machinery? It's just not smart.
It does look cinematic, though. It's
fantastic,
great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's where, you know, he gets, like, finished the job and that very intense scene. So the both are nearly killed in this fight. But a part of old Bucky might be in that brainwashed Winter Soldier as he saves Cap from drowning in the river. So after they fell off the helicarrier, I cannot say that word right now. It's so early in the morning. That's where we see Bucky save him. Guys, it's early. It's so early. We're doing this before work, and it's a lot.
What is air? It was just like, you just took this breath that just looked like, oh my God, breathing. It was so good.
So after Cap heals from his wounds, Sam and him start to search for Bucky. So that's where we're seeing Cap's story start going. In the MCU at this point. Bucky at this point does end up leaving Hydra and Steve behind and just goes into hiding. And in after credit scenes, Bucky takes a look at the museum exhibit with his face on it. So we did see that scene in the movies prior that Cap went to his own museum to look at this stuff. And then in this one, we see Bucky do the same thing.
This museum exhibit keeps getting effed up, though. Like, not only are people, like, visiting it and having flashbacks, but doesn't, like, Cap steal his original uniform
Yeah.
from the museum? They're like, what happened to it?
I mean, it is his. So
Yoink.
if anybody was to steal it, he could steal it.
That's true. And is it stealing or just getting your clothes back from your friend?
Right. They stole it from him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So important things to remember about Captain America, the Winter Soldier. So among other things, the Falcon is in the MCU at this point. So Sam was introduced. I loved him in this movie. I thought Anthony Mackie was a perfect person to play this character.
Mm-hmm.
And this is Sam Wilson's first MCU appearance. We get to see why Cap trusts him, which I think is important for these characters of Bucky and Sam.
One thing also to note is that Red Wing is not in existence. There is no real bird that exists with Sam.
Yeah, he's a robot.
Yeah, because in the comics, it's a literal bird that makes this noise, Cree! And Cree tends to break people's brains, which is amazing.
Yeah, I don't know what the reasoning was behind not giving him an actual bird, but because it's like, why is he named Falcon? Just because he likes wings at this point? So yeah,
it's like his call
weird.
sign or something like that.
Yeah.
We need an actual Falcon.
All right, so since we're still going in chronological order, especially with the MCU, the next one is Avengers Age of Ultron. So keep in mind, we're just talking about Sam and Bucky. In Avengers Age of Ultron, like, I know, was Sam and Bucky even really a part of this movie? Yes, Sam was for like a teeny little bit. After Baron Strucker was dealt with, Tony Stark hosts a get-together at the new Avengers Tower. Steve brings Sam as his +1, super cute. And they talk about their missing persons case.
Wink.
Which we all know is Bucky. So the important thing about this is that we see that while Cap is out saving the world and dealing with big threats and avenging stuff, Sam is still on the case of finding Bucky. So I like that it wasn't just like, we're going to go find Bucky, and then movies later, years later, in our real time, Bucky's found. Mm-hmm. It's like they still plant those things of like, oh, we're still looking for him, like, so that way we know. Next one, Ant-Man. So Sam is a full-blown Avenger now. He faces off against Ant-Man and ends up losing, in quotes. Instead of going after him, Sam keeps tabs on him just in case he's needed. Wink, wink.
Mm-hmm.
So why that's important is instead of trying to square up to Scott Lang again, Sam sees potential in Ant-Man, and I'd say that's a pretty Avenger-like attitude or way to be.
Yeah.
You know, and so this turns out to be good because Sam and Steve will need more support in this soon-to-be future.
Dun, dun, dun. And again, I think this sort of shows Sam's attitude as the way he approaches things in life. He's not going to leap before he looks. He's going to stop, think, and see, maybe this person could be an ally in the future.
He's definitely, I would say he's like Bucky for Steve, obviously, but he is more level-headed. He's very tactical in the way he does things. He's very smart. I like him a lot.
And I think he has to be a little level-headed if he's blasting through the air on wings constantly.
Oh, yeah.
You have to be able to make some really good decisions quite quickly.
I'd be way too dizzy. Like, I don't know where is up.
The spinning. So much spinning. My gosh. And in these movies, we meet Sharon for the first time, too, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's true.
So the pieces are coming together.
That scene in Winter Soldier where the Hydra agents start coming out of S.H.I.E.L.D., or like Steve tells pretty much S.H.I.E.L.D., like, there's Hydra agents in here, and everybody in that control room just like pulls guns on each other. I'm like,
it's like the standoff moment. Yeah, it's pretty badass. So let us discover another character now. The one and only Baron Zemo. Hello. It is me, Baron
I would
Zemo.
say Zola talks more like that. Zemo is much more classy.
I know. Well, right, Zola's Swedish, but I think, Zemo is Sokovian,
right?
But yeah, so I don't know. Guys, just go with it, please. So his first appearance is in Captain America number 168 in 1971. But the thing of note is that there's actually two Baron Zemos. So there's Baron Heinrich Zemo, and then there's Baron Helmut Zemo.
Okay.
So Heinrich is the father.
Right.
And Helmut is the son. So the first Baron Zemo is Heinrich. And he was the enemy of Captain America. And he wanted to use a super glue called Adhesive X to stop Allied soldiers in their tracks. Literally.
Wait, so just like pour a bunch of glue on the ground?
Yeah. But no. Adhesive X.
Oh, I'm sorry. So pour a bunch of adhesive on the ground?
Yeah. Or on them, maybe spray it from a plane. And then they're like... and they can't fight anymore.
Man, old times were so simple.
So simple. But I mean, things are going to get complicated in a second because unfortunately for him, a vat of the sticky stuff broke and ended up permanently adhering his purple mask to his face. So that explains that.
Oops.
Yeah. So after escaping, he fled to South America, where he did some more evil deeds, but ultimately perished in a landslide while fighting Captain America. His son, Helmut, took up the Zemo helm. Much like his father, he tried to use Adhesive X against Captain America, but was scarred by the boiling liquid, which is why he continues to wear the purple pullover, much like his dad.
What is with these people not wearing protective gear with dealing with this?
I think it's a lot of, like, they're fighting around boiling vats of Adhesive X, and that's when Cap's shield breaks it open. Gah!
I mean, have they not heard of OSHA? Where's the workplace safety guidelines?
I mean, listen, I think this is a much bigger conversation that we need to have because Hydra does not believe in workers' rights. They're putting things on very high scaffolding. People are working around boiling vats of stuff. They don't really know what's going on. They're just hell-bent on world domination and being horrible, horrible people. They can't think about their own people, actually. They don't care. They don't care. So this Zemo spent time with both the good and the bad guys. Actually, he ended up creating a reformed villain group called Thunderbolts, and in a new reality was actually besties with Steve.
Yeah, I don't like that.
But for the most part, that's like alternate stuff. Like for the most part, he's like avenging his father's death and wants to take Captain down.
Him and his purple mask. Okay.
I love that purple mask.
It does look great. I thought in the MCU it was not going to translate well because in the comics it can kind of look a little like, dude, you just have a ski mask on.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you have on. And from what we've seen for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I'm liking it.
Absolutely. And I think the main thing to take from his history that relates to the MCU is that there's this familial drive to why he's doing all that he's doing. You know, he's avenging his father, and that's what keeps his blood and Adhesive X boiling.
So that brings us to Captain America Civil War. So this one's a pretty big one for not necessarily Falcon, but more for Bucky / Winter Soldier and also Zemo. So at the beginning of the film, we see Bucky defrosted, assassinating, and then going back on ice. Cut to, little later in the movie, presently there are big changes in the world's political landscape after the events of Age of Ultron. The Avengers' mistakes, although necessary in saving the world, don't go unnoticed. Nations come together and create the Sokovia Accords, a piece of legislation that would require heroes to either register or quit. So pretty much you have to sign up for government duty and be kept in check, or you can't be superheroing.
And if you go out of that, they get real, real mad at you.
Yeah, it's like, dude, I have superpowers. Calm down.
Thank you.
So the day the Accords are being approved, a person that looks like Bucky blows up the United Nations, killing T'Chaka, the king of Wakanda. While T'Challa, our current Black Panther, is right there, tries to save it. Doesn't happen. Black Widow was present at the time as well. So this is what creates the driving force for the movie. Was that Bucky? What's happening? You know, so now also T'Challa has a stake in this because his father was just killed.
Yeah, that's a really interesting introduction for a character, right? The first time we meet him, we're watching him deal with his father's death.
Yeah, and I mean, right, even prior to that, you see a little bit of him, and I'm like, oh, this guy, he has everything together. He seems super smooth, and then he's just completely broken down. And it's like, oh, we did get to see a little bit of him, but then we're seeing him in his like origin part already. That's the one thing that I love about Marvel is that the MCU in particular, they found really cool ways to introduce characters within the narrative that's already going. Like they introduced Black Panther in Civil War before his actual movie. So that way we didn't have to, in that movie, not necessarily waste time, but like we already know the character. So it's like, okay, what's happening in his movie now? Like what's his origin story after him becoming the hero, if that makes sense.
The planning is impressive.
Yeah.
100%. There's some real thought put into it and how these characters can come in and not just necessarily being like, well, they need an origin movie in order for them to exist. You know, he gets his Black Panther movie, which is incredible, but we get him introduced here in Civil War. It's pretty badass.
Exactly. So now everyone, and we mean everyone, wants Bucky dead, especially T'Challa. Captain America and Falcon set out to protect Bucky from Black Panther and various government agencies, but they all end up getting taken into custody. And this is one of the coolest MCU scenes. I don't really care for Captain America comics. The movies, I'm all in. This scene where Bucky is running from Black Panther but also Steve and Falcon are trying to protect him is one of the coolest. Tunnel, grabbing a bike off of somebody midair. Like, it's so good. I love this scene.
Oh, heck yeah. There's like, it starts off with like rooftop running and then just goes bananas.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It's got car chases and it's just everything you want in a good chase scene. They took it all and they put it in there. And it was chef's kiss.
So much fast running.
So much running.
While being held, Bucky is told, longing, rested, 17, daybreak, furnace, 9, benign, homecoming, 1, freight car. So this triggers him and he loses it. And this is all obviously said in the proper language, which I did not memorize and I don't want to.
I think the translated version is just fine.
So this is where we see him. He's in that pod, little weird thing. Like it looks like a smart car without wheels.
I love how they just have this pod ready. This containing pod. All right, put him in the pod.
They're learning. They're superhero powered people. They need to like improvise
They
here.
just have a special pod for everyone. They're like, well, if we ever have to take Winter Soldier, we got this one. If we ever got Captain America, we have the other one.
But they didn't prepare for, I guess, somebody that is evil. They didn't do good background checks unless this guy literally planned this the entire time. So this is Zemo. We know that this is Zemo at this point, and he's the one that delivers the triggering words to activate the Winter Soldier. Because at this point, Bucky's kind of been Bucky a little bit. He's just still dealing with a lot of stuff. He doesn't know really what's happening. So when he says that, he loses it. Steve and Sam eventually get control over him, and now they all need to be on the run because the Sokovia Accords are still in effect, and Steve is trying to help him. But with all this drama going on with Bucky, it's not really, he doesn't really have time to sign papers and be like, we can't be in check because what if something needs help and they didn't give us a proof? Like, Bucky needs help right now. They wouldn't approve us helping him. We need to go help him.
Hello.
And Sam is with him 100%. So Bucky tells them that they need to head to Serbia ASAP because we find out that that's what Zemo activated him for because he wanted information.
And there are so many other Winter Soldiers.
So cut to Cap's shield and Falcon's wings are still being held at the base, and they enlist the help of Peggy Carter's niece, Sharon.
Hey.
This is the scene where we get Steve kissing Peggy Carter's niece. Weird. And the amazing moment of, can you move your seat up? From Cap's best buds. On top of all this, the Accords are in effect, and without signing and getting the UN's approval, they are high-profile criminals. Steve and Sam are not for the Accords, and with Bucky, they call on Wanda, Hawkeye, and Ant-Man to go against Team Iron Man, who has the rest of the Avengers on his team, with the addition of Spider-Man. So Spider-Man also gets introduced in this movie. A lot of big names introduced in this movie, and a lot is happening.
This movie is so good.
But remember, we're only following Bucky and Sam. By proxy, also Steve, because everything is a driving force with him. So Falcon allows himself to get captured so Bucky and Cap can escape. But they're followed by Iron Man. The three of them meet up in Serbia where, shocker, Baron Zemo has been behind everything. He's the one pulling all the strings. But that's not all. He drops a big bombshell. Remember those people at the beginning of the movie that we saw getting killed in that car? Turns out they are Tony Stark's parents.
Yeesh.
So not great. Like anyone would be, Tony's not happy. I wouldn't be happy either, but it's like, okay, listen to Cap. He's trying to tell you he's brainwashed. It wasn't him. Like, please stop trying to kill my best friend that I've spent the greater of ever since I've woken up trying to protect.
Yeah, so not only is this guy just causing a whole bunch of trouble where like Captain's derailed from Sokovian nonsense that Tony is supporting, but now he killed his parents.
Yeah.
No. Tony is not here for that. And then one of the best fight scenes ever comes.
Yeah, the fight scene was really cool. A splash page worthy fight happens.
Ooh.
And in the end, Tony does blow off Bucky's metal arm. Whoopsies. Steve takes Bucky to Wakanda, where T'Challa promises to rehabilitate him and protect him. Steve then heads to the Raft, a supermax prison dedicated to hold people with abilities, and that's where Sam's at. He helps break him out. So poor Sam, this whole time, he's like, I'll sacrifice getting captured so that way you guys can go. Apparently, they made this extreme part of the prison for people that aren't going to agree with the Sokovia Accords.
Yeah, so they were ready. Just like they had the pod for Bucky, they have an even bigger pod for all the Avengers that they knew that they were going to have to get rid of.
Rightfully so. So what's super important about this film, the Avengers fam is divided. And this creates a huge rift in this, all thanks to Bucky and his time in Hydra. Not great. But this also furthers Bucky's road to redemption, I think, even after the realization he killed Tony's parents. So we're really seeing at this point, Bucky is having to realize and deal with everything that he's done, even if he doesn't really remember it. I mean, how would you, like, even whenever I get, like, if I get blackout drunk, let's just say, and I hear information about what happened prior, that's embarrassing. I can't imagine being like, oh, I murdered people for 50 years. Whoops.
Yeah. I mean,
Do?
no, sometimes you say things in your sleep that you don't remember.
Okay,
So-
that's not fair.
So, are you held responsible for those things?
No. Not at all. It's not my fault. I don't remember, therefore it didn't happen.
He's always playing video games in his dreams. It's fantastic.
So, but another important thing is we're seeing how much Steve never gave up on Bucky. The whole "I can do this all day" isn't just a really badass saying. That also goes for his moral and friend support.
That's right. They had a little friendship necklace that they broke back in Brooklyn, and they each still have a half, and they cherish it just like their friendship.
I mean, I just love a good best friend story.
And also the thing is that as we know, Bucky's just a really great guy. He's a stand-up guy. He's going to stand up for what's right. Him and Steve have that in common. They really have that great moral compass. And then you hear, you've been a murderer for 70 years. You know, how do you deal with that as a person whose morals are upright?
You go to Wakanda and get help.
Heck yeah. You meet a wonderful person named Shuri.
I do like that scene in this movie where Steve is taking him to Wakanda, because you do get that conversation between them, and he's like, I don't think I'm worth all this trouble. Because, I mean, think about it. He's like, why do I matter? Like, why are you doing all this? Just let me, like, I was fine hiding in that apartment before everybody came after me, thinking I killed, T'Chaka. Shows how far Steve will go for somebody that he knew back in Brooklyn. Like, he's just that loyal. So the next movie that's important in this chronological order is Black Panther. And this is just end credits. And this is super quick. So when CIA agent Everett Ross's wounds are being treated in Wakanda, Shuri says, another broken white boy for them to fix. This brings us to the end credit scene. A medalless, like an armless Bucky walks out of a tent. Ta-da! That's the other white boy that they're talking about. So why this is important, this shows that Steve brought Bucky to Wakanda, and T'Challa and Shuri kept their promise about helping rehabilitate him, help him work through his brainwashedness. So it's good to get that update on there.
And man bun.
Okay. No, I didn't want to mention it. I don't like it.
I'm here for it. He's been reformed. It's very yogic. You know, it seems like he's done a lot of meditation. And he's like, I'm going to wear this man bun now.
I don't like it. No. All right. So next big one is Avengers Infinity War. So what's important about this one? So the ramifications of Civil War are still in effect. Team Cap, pretty much they're all wanted fugitives, but Thanos is enacting his plan. So who has time for that? Cap, Natasha, and Sam help Wanda and Vision in a fight against two of Thanos' Black Order, Corvus Grave and Proxima Midnight. With the impending invasion, the crew all then head to Wakanda for the big standoff against Thanos. We see T'Challa give Bucky a brand new sleek black and gold metal arm for the upcoming fight. This is where we get to see that Bucky seems a little hesitant because he's been living the good life and making progress, and he's like, where's the fight? He knows that he has to step up.
He's on a journey of himself. And now they're interrupting it with war.
So, spoiler, the Avengers don't win this one.
Eey.
Thanos gathers all the Infinity Stones and snaps half of all life out of existence. Among those dusted is Sam and Bucky. Hate that scene. I don't like it. Not great, because we have Bucky walking towards Cap and he just disintegrates into dust.
Yeah, not cool.
So why it's important is when we pick up with our heroes, it's been a few years, which means that Cap and Sam got some great bonding time while on the run. Another great plus is it seems that Bucky can finally move past his days as a Hydra assassin and fight for the right cause. So I did like that it was a little more forward, because when we first met Sam, he had just met Cap and he was his like running partner.
Yeah.
But now we know, even though we didn't see it, is, oh, they had some time to really bond and they were on the run. So I'm pretty sure they were around each other a lot.
I picture them like walking slowly away from explosions, high-fiving. Like they've had some real great bonding experiences.
Oh, totally. Last one for me, for the MCU. So Avengers Endgame. So what's important about this one is, although for a good chunk of the movie, Sam and Bucky are not in it because dusted, Our Star-Spangled Hero stands before a 2014 Thanos thanks to some time-traveling shenanigans by our surviving Avengers and his whole entire army. That's where we get that amazing 20-plus movie worth shot of just lone Cap standing in front of the entire Thanos army. I can't. Gives me chills. So then we hear through Cap's radio on your left, theater, everybody goes bananas because we know exactly what that means because we knew Falcon was dusted, but he's back. So Cap turns around. That's when all the portals start opening up.
Yes.
Sam makes a great entrance and all our heroes start coming through, including Bucky. So our heroes are back because thanks to Hulk, he snapped everybody back. We come to an epic decade climax as our heroes finally triumph over Thanos. But now we know that the 1 in 14 million chance Doctor Strange talked about in Infinity War was this fight, and Iron Man had to sacrifice his life to dust Thanos in the process. After Tony Stark's funeral, we learn that Cap is going to put all the Infinity Stones back in their proper place and time. Bucky and Sam are with Cap when he decides to leave, but before Sam can fully understand, like, wait, what's happening? Where are you going? Are you coming back? Bucky notices a familiar figure by the lake. So this turns out to be Cap. He put all the stones back and he settled down with Peggy. Finally got to have that dance with Peggy. But so Steve is an old man now, and he can't be the hero that we've known for so long. Steve chooses Sam to be the next Captain America.
Passes him that shield.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I kissed your niece, but I like you better, babe.
Oh, man, gross. So the most important thing to take away from this is that the mantle of Captain America is now being passed on. So that's where we're at in the MCU. Many people have debated on why Steve would give it to Sam and not Bucky. I think it could be because of his brainwashed assassin days. Even if Steve was to pass it on to Bucky, it'd be a little tarnished. Like, people know about Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
People know about Bucky. And it's like, really? This guy? Like, didn't he kill Tony's parents?
Yeah. And also he was like, Bucky's crazy. So Sam, take this.
Right. Then that also gives the other question, I think it's going to be explored in the show, is does Sam feel worthy of it?
Right.
Like, I feel like this is going to be a big theme going into the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because what does it mean for not only somebody else to be Captain America, but a person of color to be Captain America in a world where literally Captain America is quote unquote owned by the government and a wanted fugitive because of the Sokovia Accords. So I think there's a lot more drama that goes into this than people are realizing. It's not just going to be a bromance. I'm sure there's going to be bromances all about.
That's a really good point, though. It's like, so Captain America's a wanted fugitive. I'm not doing it anymore. So good luck. Like, oh,
here you go,
thanks.
Sam.
Cool. Thanks.
But yet the thing too, Sam is also a fugitive, and so is Bucky.
True.
So I feel like they have to like do their dues with the government maybe, and they're like have to go on missions for them.
So we don't think that the government is forgiving them after they brought everybody back to life. They're kind of like, no, you're still in trouble.
No. Yep.
Sounds about right.
Has to be. I mean, it seems like if up until Endgame, the events of Civil War or even Winter Soldier are still being, felt all the way to Endgame, I'm pretty sure that it's going to be a while before Team Cap's people are forgiven.
Fair. That's
pretty much the history of Sam and Bucky in the movies. Obviously, I skipped over things because I was just focusing on Sam and Bucky.
It's quite the journey, though. And I think it's really important to look back because so much goes into why these characters are together in this series.
So that leaves us with, we talked about pretty much everybody in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but that leaves us with two mystery people that we've seen or that we know that are going to be in the show, but they have not been in the MCU so far.
So let's get into some comic history on these two mystery folks. The first one is U.S. Agent. His real name is John F. Walker. His first appearance was in Captain America, number 323, and this came out in 1986. So his abilities are super strength and stamina, and he also has a vibranium shield. Sound familiar? So wanting to be a war hero like his older brother, John Walker was willing to do anything to defend his country. After his time in the military, he heard of someone named Power Broker, who would eventually give him his powers. First named Super Patriot, Walker later became Captain America, and once Steve took back the mantle, John was finally named U.S. Agent.
It just sounds worse for some reason. Like, U.S. Agent doesn't sound like a good person.
And yeah, Agent. And what's really sort of funny is that on like the trading card of it, it's like USA Gent.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Because he's USA. He's like another America's hero.
Right.
So, yeah, but the word agent doesn't sound great.
Right.
So, loses his arm and leg in combat, and he became the warden of the raft after that. And then there's some alternate reality stuff where he bonds with Venom, so he gets his limbs back. And then
Typical comic book stuff.
And then he even, like, later on, there's an evil Hydra Captain America. He takes them down. But the feeling I'm getting about this character is that for him, it's all about the country. It's about America.
It's that nationalism.
Yeah.
It's that not, like, it's perfectly fine to love where you're from, but, like...
It's a sort of extremist view on that.
Yeah.
and we can see that, you know, if he comes in as U.S. agent, that's going to counter Sam's sort of like, what does it mean to be Captain America, America's hero? And then we have this other guy who's like, America is America's hero. It's all about America.
I feel like in the show, what we're going to get is U.S. agent is going to be the government-issued Captain America. They're going to be like, this is Captain America. This is the real one. While Sam is like, but Captain America literally gave me the mantle. Like, I have his shield.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It's going to be interesting dealing with that.
And I also think there's a piece of him that's a little like power or glory hungry. Right. Because when I was reading his history, it's this whole thing of like, he wants to be like his older brother. So he joins the military, but then the war ends and he's like, well, now what? Now how do I defend my country? Right. Well, then I have to get superpowers from this guy, Power Broker.
And it's interesting because these characters were made in the time where like, war was like a big thing. It was a popular thing, and every young boy wanted to join the military, and it was a very respectable thing to do this. Not saying it's not now, but it's interesting that we have all these characters, especially with Captain America, that are very war orientated and very like what it means to serve your country and what does that mean.
Right. I'm interested in seeing how U.S. agent plays against Sam and the Winter Soldier.
Don't think it's going to be great.
I don't think so. I think he's going to be kind of a dick.
And if you've noticed, we haven't seen like any scenes with him except for his back.
Right. Just running on that field.
Yeah. I feel like his scenes in the show may be a little intense.
There's going to be some face smashing happening, I'm sure, at some point. Let's do it. So the next character we want to cover is someone from the comics, a villain named Flag Smasher. Mm-hmm. And this guy's name is Carl Morgenthau, and he first appeared in Captain America number 312 from 1968. So his abilities are martial arts, and he has great wealth, so he's able to do
That's all you need.
Things. Yeah. So he's the son of a diplomat, and he moved frequently as a boy. He went all over the world, and when his father was murdered in a riot, Carl decided that seeking world peace diplomatically was not the right way to go about things.
Reasonable.
Right, of course. His main mission is to end the separation of nations and unite the world by smashing flags.
So like don't be a nationalist, essentially.
Right, but like also everybody together, chaos, insanity. Like he's willing.
So it's peace by anarchy,
right,
essentially.
He's willing to burn everything to the ground to have everybody on a level playing field.
Smash all those flames.
That's right. He literally, in his first appearance, appears at the UN and he's literally smashing flag.
I mean, great.
Right. So in the comics, he then brings together a group of rebels called the Underground Liberated Totally Integrated Mobile Army to Unite Mankind.
Nope. Way too long.
AKA Ultimatum.
No, still too long.
It was a long journey to get there.
No.
So this anarchist terrorist group aids Flag Smasher and his violent endeavors to make the world one.
Right.
So the reason we're bringing this up is because in the trailer and in scenes for the Falcon and Winter Soldier, we see this gang of anarchists or whatever you want to call them wearing these masks, right? Mm-hmm. And so it was interesting in doing my research for this and looking on IMDb and at the cast pages, there was a character named Carly Morgenthau, right? And his name is Carl Morgenthau. But when I went back there just yesterday to recheck my work, they removed the name of the character.
Yeah, I saw that. I remember looking at it just recently and being like, wait, there was more names on here than there were. So I think they might have been like, oopsies.
Yeah.
We let that slip. So it's clear that in this, we're going to have U.S. agent be a foil and antagonist for the characters in whatever way. The government. Then we have the Flag Smashers, because I know in the comics, like Carl is called Flag Smasher, but also the group is kind of synonymous with me calling flag smashers instead of ultimatum because nobody wants to say that, and that's dumb.
You have to say the whole thing.
Yeah, you have to say the whole thing. But yeah, I think it's going to be super interesting. We're going to have a lot of different angles coming at these heroes while also dealing with their own shit.
And also, Simo. Simo is back.
Oh yeah, Baron Zemo. I forgot about him.
Yeah, he's got his hood on. These guys got a lot going on.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's everything we think you should know. If there's something else that you think we should know, let us know. You know? I said too many no's.
I don't want to say anything because I thought that was beautiful. I was like, I have nothing else to give to this episode.
Yeah, so every Monday we're coming out with a recap and breakdown of Falcon and Winter Soldier, episode by episode.
Woot, 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 woot.
See you then, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to A Bite of, artwork and editing by our own Noah. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on Instagram at A Bite of Pod and on Facebook at A Bite of. If you have questions, recommendations, or just want to say hi, you can email us at abiteofpod@gmail.com. You can find us on all podcast platforms. Please be sure to rate and review to spread the word. Hope you join us next time on A Bite of. Bye.